Introduction to Angular. What is Angular? Angular is a component-based framework and development platform. Angular is used to create efficient and modern web applications. Angular is built on TypeScript, which is a type-based JavaScript programming language. Angular includes integrated libraries that cover many features, like routing, form management, and client-server communication. Angular has a suite of dev tools to help develop, build, and test your code. Before starting with Angular, become familiar with the following: HTML, CSS, JavaScript classes, TypeScript fundamentals, and TypeScript decorators. The tools you'll need to get started with Angular: VS Code, Node.js, VS Code extensions like Angular Language Service, Angular CLI, which is the command line interface. The three important building blocks of Angular include components, directives, and services. Components are fundamental building blocks for creating applications in Angular. Component architecture provides structure for organizing your project into manageable, well-organized parts with clear responsibilities. An Angular component can be identified by the component suffix. Example given here is grocery list item.component. A decorator to define configuration options for something like a selector that defines what the tag name is when referring to a component and a template, an HTML template that controls what is rendered to the browser, a TypeScript class that defines the behaviors of the component. Examples include handling user input, managing state, and defining methods. Below is an example of a simplified grocery list item component. Directives. When building web applications with Angular, often you will need to extend behavior of an HTML element or Angular directives and components, which includes displaying content based on conditions, rendering a list of items based on data, changing styles on an element based on user interaction. Angular provides built-in ng directives to control elements. In this example, the ng for loop is used to loop through the grocery list and display each food item as a bulleted list. Services. When you need to share logic between components, Angular lets you create a service which allows you to inject code into components while managing it from a single source. Angular services can be identified by the service suffix. Similar to defining a component, services are comprised of the following: a TypeScript decorator to define configuration options for things like provided in. This allows you to define what parts of the application can access this service. For example, root will allow a service to be accessed anywhere within the application. A TypeScript class that defines the desired code that will be accessible when the service is injected. Below is an example of a tax calculation service. On the left is the service, and in the class is a tax method that takes a variable called grocery item cost, which is a number. It then multiplies that by 6.5% tax and returns that number. On the right, we have a component called app receipt, where app receipt injects the tax calculation service and is returned the total cost of the grocery item. That was an introduction to Angular.